Hello, my friends. I'd like to welcome everyone to this week's edition of Canoehound's Outdoor Adventure Show. This is episode 15, and I'm your host, Dennis, also known as Canoehound. I hope everybody had a great week this week, and I'm hoping that your Tuesday is about to get a little bit better. Canoehound's Outdoor Adventure Show is a weekly live stream show that brings you closer to the great outdoors. The show is geared towards bringing you the hot topics and interviews of YouTube creators and outdoor personalities that you enjoy and watch. We're live here every Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. till 9 p.m. Eastern Standard, and we hope that you'll join us every Tuesday, so be sure to mark that on your calendars. If you are able, I ask that hopefully you might be able to share this live stream out. Get it out on your social media networks. Get it out there on your community tab of YouTube, and let's see what we can do to fill up the chat tonight and get a lot of questions and a lot of support for our guest. Last week we had a fantastic show with special guest David Bain from the Ontario Outdoor Canoe. The Ontario Outdoor Backcountry Canoe Symposium. Being from Ontario myself, and many of my followers or people watching the stream tonight might be from the Ontario area. And if it's a show that you might be interested in going, I'm just going to suggest that you get on there and order your tickets soon, because I seen a post yesterday from David that the show is over 70% sold out. And it's a show that is a guarantee sellout. And once the tickets are sold out, you are SOL if you wanted to check out the show. I see that the chat is already starting to populate quite quickly there. We got Emmy Dibble in the house. We got Ride Paddle Repeat in the house. Sty North, Tom, Mama Bear's Backpack, Everything Spicy, Brian J, Sty North. Thanks for popping in, everybody. It's going to be a grand show tonight. Hopefully you'll stick around for a while. This past week, I happened to post a video on how to make a pot cozy. It's been doing pretty well on the charts there. So if anybody's looking or has ever wondered how to make a pot cozy, an insulating pot cozy for their pot set or their cookware set, or you could even do it for a water bottle or for your foil packets of rehydrated or freeze-dried meals. Check out the video. By the end, you might want to make your own. They're very cheap. They're very easy to make, and they're kind of fun. So get on there, check that out, and turn yourself into a crafter. Once again, if anybody has any hot topics or show ideas or personalities in the world of YouTube that you'd like to see on the show, whether local or from abroad, or if you know an upcoming outdoor-related event like a trade show or something along that lines that might benefit from being announced here on the show, please do drop me an email at canoehound@gmail.com, and I'll see what I can do to actually get them posted on the show, or trying to find some hot new guests or topics for the show. It's always a good thing. Your input is very valuable, and actually tonight's guest is somebody that was had come often requested by a few people. So that's good. And I reached out, and we are lucky enough to have tonight's guest. Before I invite tonight's guest, I just wanted to say that next week's guest on the show is going to be PJ Justison and Tierney Angus from Friends of Temagami. Once again, I know it's a sort of a regional show, but it's a hot topic in Ontario here as to the things that are going on up in the Temagami area with the Solus Wildlands and Wolf Lake area. And it's going to be an interesting show. Kind of a little bit of outdoorsy political, but it's a show I think that needs to be put out there, and it's going to bring some attention to a lot of the topics that are going on there, and hopefully open a few eyes. So be sure to check us out next week. Put that on your calendars. And as you know, this show is a very interactive show. Your participation is more than welcome. So if you have any questions tonight for myself or our guest, feel free to put your questions in the chat. But I just ask that you do one thing so I can notice it, and that's to put the word question before your question in capital letters so that I can identify it easily. I'll try to get it up on screen. And I'll apologize in advance that if I do happen to miss it, because sometimes the chat gets going a little quick, that repost it, okay, so that we can get it on there. I have no problem with you posting the same question a couple times if that's what it's going to take to actually get your question across to our guest tonight. And yeah, so I guess that leads us to one more thing here, introducing tonight's guest. Tonight's guest is an avid outdoors enthusiast who loves to make outdoor adventure videos. This sounds like a dating app bio. But yeah, let me start that again. Tonight's guest is an outdoor enthusiast who loves to make outdoor adventure videos that are unique, with numerous canoe trips, including a 2-week adventure to Woodland's Caribou Provincial Park this past summer with his boys. Hiking trips, mountain biking, dog sledding, ice climbing, just to mention a few. He is, by all the sense of the word, an outdoor adventurer. He likes to mix it up visually, he likes to mix visually stunning videos, and his footage includes a lot of aerial shots using drones and things of that sort. So he puts together some really magical looking videos for sure. He also likes to take his family and friends on his adventures. Great way to share what he does. And his popular YouTube channel currently sits at around 22,000 subscribers. Yes, 22,000 subscribers. And that says that he must be doing something right. So I'd like everybody to please welcome tonight's guest, Scott from Drenalin Adventures. How you doing tonight, Scott?
I'm good, Dennis. How are you?
Good, good. Thanks for popping on with us tonight. It's a pleasure to be having you here for sure.
Great. It's been nice to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. So let's tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Well, I live in Southern Ontario. I'm 48 years old. I'm married for 21 years. Have 3 wonderful children, a couple of dogs. It's a busy house, and I try to get outdoors when I can.
A couple of crazy dogs.
A couple of crazy dogs.
Yeah.
They're not YouTube friendly. If I would have started a YouTube channel before I bought dogs, Vizslas, they're awesome dogs, but they don't sit still for cameras.
They don't sit still for a minute. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that, because in some of your more recent videos, they kind of like that little perch you built for them in the canvas tent.
Yes, I have to run them for about a couple of hours before I can get them to sit still.
Yeah, my dog will do a lap and she's done.
Yeah.
Which is actually really good in the canoe. So I get her in the canoe and I don't have to worry about her doing paces back and forth, right?
No, exactly.
Yeah. So how did you get started in this whole YouTube thing? What's your motivation to share, your adventures with people that you're taking care of often? You do a lot of adventures.
Yeah, I try to, and like I said, I really enjoy it. Just like people that are watching are the same way, right? We're outdoors people, love being out there. I think what made it for me was I was somebody who always dragged a camera around, no matter where I was and how long ago it was. My wife and I, in 1994, we were just dating, and we drove across Canada to Vancouver Island, and we drove back home through the United States. It was a 3-week trip, and I brought my in-laws' camcorder, which was, the size of, some ridiculous size back then. It recorded on a VHS tape to give you an idea how big it was, and the term didn't even exist then, but I was vlogging then, taking videos of our trip with me and my wife, and taking, kind of setting it up and filming us do stuff for no particular reason, because YouTube wasn't a thing and no one was really going to see it. It was just to be relive it years from now, right? I've always been somebody to file away photographs and that sort of thing. I had a lot of video footage of my children when they were younger and that sort of thing. So to me, that came naturally. And then in 2017, I basically discovered some videos on YouTube. I really wasn't a big YouTube person, and started discovering that to plan my trips in Algonquin Park, people were posting videos of their canoe trips, which I didn't even think was a thing, and started watching some canoe trips. And I thought, well, you know what? I'm going in May, and recorded my first YouTube video, posted it June 3rd, and I recorded it with my iPhone.
Is that right? Eh?
Yeah.
And you know what? Those things, they work quite amazingly. I know Camper Christina, she records all her videos using her iPhone.
Oh, really? Nowadays with the iPhone 11, I mean, they take remarkable 4K footage. So.
Yeah, you wouldn't know it because the footage is just that good, right? So when did you actually? This might be going back a while, but when did you actually launch your first YouTube video?
June 3rd, 2017 is
2017. So you've been at her for a little while here.
2.5 years, roughly. That that first trip was with my son Griffin and my two buddies Bill and Wes.
Mm-hmm.
Trout fishing trip in Algonquin Park.
Awesome. Now, do you have your regular buddies that you canoe trip with on an often basis?
Yes. Yeah.
Besides the boys, right?
Yeah, besides the boys. Every spring now, my buddy Bill and Wes has joined us a few years after we started doing it. So the three of us go trout fishing trip in the spring in May, ice out usually. And Pierce, my oldest son, had gone with us before he went to high school. We discovered that having 3 kids, you realize that missing a little bit of grade school is not the end of the world. Our kids are all good students, but high school things become a little more important attendance-wise. So I've been able to pull him out for a week and a half during grade school and gotten away with it. And Griffey is in grade 8 this year, so this will be his last year coming. And next time we go on a canoe trip, it'll probably be in the summertime, after this one.
Yeah, and he's a character. I met your son. Well, you and your son at the
nice.
And he was right in there. I asked him if he had his own YouTube channel. He goes, "No, I'm just going to hang out with this buffoon for a while." He's a character for sure.
I always tell him maybe he can take it over one day.
There you go. Yeah, he'll hand it down to the sons.
Exactly.
That's often. So how often do you find yourself out there tripping? Are you you try to be every weekend, or are you trying to as often as you can? Obviously, right?
Yeah, as often as I can. I do have a full-time job. My wife works full-time. 3 teenagers at home, so getting away is not always easy. So the beauty of the YouTube channel for me is that it gives me a reason to get away almost, and I can almost kind of wink, tell my wife that I got to keep the YouTube channel going, right? So I got to go on a trip.
Yeah, my wife's like that too. She's very easy to persuade when it comes to this because she knows I love doing this stuff.
Exactly.
So she doesn't mind. She knows I'm at home when I'm doing this.
Perfect. Yes.
Yeah. So, and you really like to have your family on your adventures with you because obviously, like I say, I've seen your Woodlands Caribou trip, which you had not only your boys, but was it the father-in-law or?
Well, that trip was actually broken up in 2 different trips. How that one worked out was Griffey and I drove up with my father-in-law and his brother. And probably one of my favorite things about having a YouTube channel is that it really inspires and encourages people to get out. And then they were like, "Hey, well, can I come with you?" Which is nice because we wouldn't necessarily normally go on a trip together. But now the YouTube thing kind of creates a little reason to do it. And my father-in-law is not an outdoors guy. His brother Randy, likes to get out. So, they were always talking and joking around how if I ever could go on a trip that wouldn't kill them, maybe they would tag along. So I got this idea to go. I was planning on doing all 3. I forget the name of it now. Northwest Wilderness Challenge.
Mm-hmm.
I was planning on doing Wabakimi, Woodland Caribou, and Quetico, but it turned out to be too much. I couldn't get the time off, so I just did Wabakimi and Woodland Caribou. And I was talking to Wabakimi and planning it, Bert and Brenda, working out the details, and mentioned how my father-in-law was a pilot, and he would love to go one day on one of these trips, but he can't do the portages. And they suggested, well, they have this cabin right on the CN tracks. So the train stops and you can literally get out and there's a cabin right there and you can haul your gear to the cabin. So my father-in-law and Randy stayed at a cabin and they fished with the motorboat. And Griff and I took off for almost a week and we paddled from there and we did our trip in Wabakimi.
Mm-hmm.
And then we came back. So we took the train there. We came back, flew out of there, drove back down to Thunder Bay, and my son Pierce and my buddy Mike, we picked them up at the Thunder Bay airport, and then we went to Woodland Caribou for a week.
Wow,
Yeah, it was pretty. It was very stressful to plan it all out, but it was pretty awesome.
I was going to say that's got to be a very logistically taunting task to take on.
It was very stressful to put it all together, coordinate. Literally, 4 or 5 different people, different flights coming in, and my buddy Mike, he got a chance to go, and it worked out perfect for him because he just had to fly in. My truck was already there, so I drove him. I picked him up at airport with Pierce. We got to drive to Woodland, and we all drove back home together. So it worked out really well.
Cool. Got a question here from Ride Paddle Repeat asking, after teaching your sons to fillet fish in woodland caribou, have they tried it again? Any other tips for novices with the fillet knife?
You know what? There's lots of YouTube videos on how to fillet fish, and to be honest with you, when I videotaped that, my technique certainly wasn't the best, and I didn't want it to come across as a tutorial because a lot of people asked me how come I didn't show it more up and personal, right? As if I was showing someone how to do it. And YouTube, sometimes if it's not perfect or if I didn't do it as a tutorial, people are a little critical, right? So it wanted to capture more of a father-son moment, filleting fish, clean your fish for dinner, right? So they have cleaned some fish since then. We don't get out we haven't really got out a whole lot since then. Me and Griff get out a little bit more, short trips. My son Pierce, being 17, he's got a busy high school life. He's grade 12 and stuff. So since that trip, we really haven't got out a whole lot.
Well, just going to pipe in on something here. I just noticed that I had a super chat come in from Everything Spicy, a friend of mine, Phil, from a couple of live streams. Phil, I will say this, you are my first. That's my first super chat I've ever received. Thanks, brother. I really appreciate that. Any super chats that come in, that's all going towards, just like you, Phil, I'll be turning it into decals and shipping them out to people. So thanks very much. I appreciate it. Anyway, so I had to pipe that in because that, like I said, that was my very first super chat, and wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. Now I've lost where I am. You got me all shook up, Phil. Yeah. So back to the Woodlands caribou thing. Like, was that the first time you ever took the boys on a fly-in? Like, that had to be an exciting moment for them.
It was absolutely awesome. It was the first time I've been in a bush plane, landed on the water, took off from the water. And it was very exciting. I got to be in the plane with each of them, taking off and landing with each of them. Mm-hmm. You know what, Dennis, there's something, if you haven't done it, there's something about watching your canoe attached to the floats where you're in the air, flying over the boreal forest, looking at this thinking, wow, it just goes on forever.
Yeah. And
it's just such a cool feeling that they just drop you off in this lake. You unload your gear, you watch the plane take off and leave you behind. It's a pretty awesome feeling. I loved it.
And that's when you start thinking, geez, I hope I can find my way back, right?
Well, I can tell you, if you're ever planning on, I think a lot of people that follow what we do, are familiar with maybe Algonquin Park and Killarney and whatever provincial park. But Wabakimi, Woodland Caribou, there's no signs. You are completely on your own, and if you lose your GPS, it's getting around there with a map. We were on a lake called Puzzle Lake in Woodland Caribou. Man, good luck getting through there.
Yeah. Now you've had a few other really cool adventures that, like I said, I've been following you for like the last year and a half, probably somewhere around there, and that's the one thing I like about your channel is it's not just a canoeing channel. It's a channel that you are, like I say, an adventurer. So you've had dog sledding with your wife.
Yeah, that was nice.
And ice climbing as well, which was really cool, by the way.
I loved ice climbing. I could go ice climbing every weekend. I enjoyed it that much. It didn't get a lot of views. I was surprised. I guess there's not a whole lot of people that do it. Mm-hmm. So I put a lot of work into that video with, no real results with the views, but I was still happy with it. And I got to help out our guide, Lauren, who runs Base Camp 35. But I absolutely loved it. It is so fun. And I think what people don't realize is I've gone rock climbing in the past, and rock climbing takes a certain physical ability that not everybody has. I'm long and lanky, and I don't have the strength to be a very good rock climber. But ice climbing is like climbing a ladder, because it doesn't get any harder the higher you go up. It's once you get the momentum down, it was really pretty easy, and it's. I have a ton of people that want to go with me now, so I still might get a trip in this winter. I'm hoping I can pull it off.
If you can find ice.
Well, yeah, what a crazy winter we're having, eh?
Yeah, for sure. And what about the dog sledding? Like I say, that's the one thing about YouTube is a lot of people get branded on there as being specific type of channels. Either you're a bushcrafter or you're a canoeer or you're, you know what I mean? And the thing that I like about your channel is you're not branding yourself just as a canoeer, but you do throw these other adventures in, and that's what I try to strive for with my channel, is to try and do a few different things when the opportunities arrive.
Sure.
Right. So, yeah. Now the dog sledding, that was where'd that take place?
That was in Halliburton Forest.
Okay.
Yeah, beautiful and great experience. Would highly recommend doing it. And I've met a lot of people who watched the video and said, you know what, my wife watched it and would love to go do it. Like, it's a perfect getaway for a couple. Really, we had a great time.
Yeah. My buddy Dan here says he's a climber too. Occasionally he'll climb into his car or his kayak or bed. Thanks, Dan. That's awesome.
That's good. That is good.
Tina's asking here, can you describe how beautiful the burnt out forests of Woodland Caribou Provincial Park are? It was our favorite part, yeah. So
south of Red Lake when you were heading up. Oh, okay. Honestly, it's the first time seeing a burnt out forest for me, and I hope the video and pictures do it justice, because it is it's pretty awesome. It's surprisingly amazing when you're in it. And Mike was particularly blown away with just the awe factor of walking through it and seeing what the fire does and how it burns out, but how quickly it regenerates. How quickly the forest regenerates. It's something else. It's worth the experience. I hate to say you want to go see a burned out forest. It almost seems like I don't know. You shouldn't be saying that, but there is something to be said about it. It is just a really cool experience to see it. And see, just imagine how that fire was roaring. And it was shocking to see one side of the lake, obviously there was a forest fire, and the other side wasn't touched with it at times, right? So it was kind of...
Yeah, it kind of skips around, right?
When we flew out of Woodland Caribou, a forest fire had started up, and we saw it from the air. It was pretty cool.
Wow. I've only ever experienced that one time. Now, I noticed from a lot of Woodland Caribou videos that park must have been pretty devastated, because most of the videos I've seen, everybody's always come across the burned out areas. So is that the case? Is it that burnt out, or was it that burnt down?
No, I mean, there was certainly the route we took. There was plenty of normal forest that hadn't been burned down, but you could see how it's a routine thing.
Yep.
And I think in one of my videos, I'm breaking off some tinder to get ready to start a fire. I think it's the first one in the series. I'm walking, and you can just, it is so dry and just nothing but tinder, where it wouldn't take anything to start that fire up and just wipe out the whole area around it. So being in the forest, and you see it's different than Algonquin. It really is. Like, it's a whole different feel to it, and everything's closer to the ground. All the tinder, everything is just closer to the ground, and you can just see how one spark could set something off. Yeah,
for sure. And then we got the other guy in the canoe asking the same thing with all the burn there, even though you don't really hammock camp. In your opinion, is it possible? And I take interest in that too, because I'm a hammock camper.
Yeah, you know what? I was very close to pulling this trigger on a hammock. I'm a side sleeper, and I've been researching for a long time, and I do like I like a lot about hammock camping. It's just that every time I've been in one, I still feel like a banana. So I don't know. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong ones.
Well, you got to watch. You got to watch in a couple of weeks. I got Sean Emery from channel Sugar Mary.
Yeah,
he's a well-known hammock camper from I believe he's up Minnesota way, and he will give you some lessons on hammock camping, whether you're a back sleeper, a side sleeper, or a stomach sleeper. It is possible, and it is possible to straighten yourself out. It's just all how you lay in the proper hammock, right?
Sure.
Sort of flat.
Well,
yeah.
To get back to that guy's question, sorry, I didn't catch your name, but Woodland, Caribou, and Wabakimi, they're basically very similar. Hammock camping has a lot of benefits because the campsites there's not much to the campsite, so sometimes it's very hard to find a spot for your tent, and there's always trees to put up a hammock, but they might not be where you want it, close to the campsite sort of thing. You might not be as close to the fire pit or that sort of thing, but you can certainly always find a place to hang a hammock.
Good to know.
Yeah,
because that's always one thing I always worry about on a canoe trip is, am I always going to find a spot to hang my hammock, right?
Oh, for sure.
You almost always find a place to put a tent. It might not be comfortable, but yeah.
Because there's a lot of times in Woodland, Caribou, and Wabakimi, we found a place to put our tent, but it wasn't flat. There's no, and so you might as well not sleep at all if you're on a 30-degree incline.
Yeah. And then got another question coming up here as well. Was what was the inspiration behind building the cordwood house? We'll get into that in a little while, of course.
Yeah. Well, I really enjoyed using my canvas tents, and to be honest with you, I just thought, well, you know what, I can really use these long term. Last year, I put out my smaller canvas tent for the whole winter, and quite frankly, it was given to me by a company, so I was experimenting with it, and I thought, well, if it doesn't hold up, if it just falls apart, it didn't cost me anything. So I wanted to test out how it would last, and because I wanted to have like a base camp. I wanted to have a spot where I didn't always have to haul all my gear out, especially wood stoves and canvas tents. So it held up pretty good, but then it kind of fell apart of me a little bit this winter, and it just got me thinking that I'm not getting any younger, and I want to have that solid place where I can go to and then stay for a while and be close to all the things I want to do, biking, fishing, and hunting and everything, but just have a place to stay there. It didn't have to be a cabin. Then, to be honest with you, like I was telling you before the show started, Dennis, I stayed in a cordwood cabin 20 years ago, and my wife and I were with some other couples, and I just remember seeing it for the first time. I think this was the coolest thing. And how did in the world did they? It's beer time, isn't it?
Yep. Tonight we're doing a Mad Tom IPA, people.
Oh, there you go.
Crack them if you got them.
So the cabin thing, I was just like, okay, the tent thing's not going to be it's not going to be the answer. I can't build a traditional log cabin. I don't have the spruce trees and pine trees. I just don't have the resources to build a traditional log cabin. It wasn't practical for where I was going to build it. And then I got the idea, well, you know what? I have plenty of wood. I can get wood and bring it up there, but I just can't get the long pieces. So researched the cordwood cabin, and I'm excited to make it because it's going to be perfect. It's going to be time consuming, but basically you're just reversing the logs. That's all you're doing, and you're puttying the gaps with mortar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that, like I say, we were talking about that, like you said before the show started, about how ambitious this project is. Everybody's obviously familiar with somebody like Sean James, and there's a lot of other people out there that are also building their own cabins.
Right.
This one here is fairly unique. I don't know if I've seen anybody on YouTube, or I haven't really looked for it, but building a cordwood cabin. So it's something that's fairly unique.
I think so. I haven't seen a whole lot of people do it either, to be honest with you. And I think what's people are going to realize is really how anybody can do it. Like, I've watched Sean's videos on his cabin. I've watched a lot of other people like that. And, hauling 16-foot logs around is not for everybody, right? That's it's pretty taxing. But all of a sudden, if I told you, could you carry an 8-inch wide log that was only a foot long, and could you stack it on top of each other like stacking firewood? Suddenly, that's not so daunting, is it? Mm-hmm.
Now, when you're building this, or when this project's taking place, is it going to be actual like logs, like segments of logs, or is it going to be split cordage?
I have some ideas, and strictly when you get to that point, it's just aesthetics. What look do you like, right?
Right.
And I plan to do mostly rounds. You can split it, quarter split it. You can make patterns. You can really, the sky's the limit on what you can do with the wood.
Yeah.
I personally like the look of just rounds stacked on top of each other.
You turn it into almost like a puzzle, right? So, yeah.
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much. Now you have to, when you frame it in, because it's not necessarily structurally sound like stacking the logs like Lincoln logs, it takes a little bit of framing in to ensure that it's got some stability to it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the progress that you're going to make on this cabin. I know winter's coming and everything's going to be a little difficult for you to get done probably as much as you want to get done. But yeah, it's going to be a fun project, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yeah. A regular on the show here, Brian J, is asking, who's more competitive, you or your wife?
Oh, it's not even close. My wife is very competitive.
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty evident when you guys are doing the ice climbing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
For anybody that hasn't seen that video, by all means, check out Scott's channel after tonight's show, and go through his library of videos and find the ice climbing adventure. You guys will love it. And that, there again, we were talking about the drone earlier. And it's amazing the footage you can get with a drone, the different perspective it gets, and how you went up along when she was up doing the climb.
Yeah,
and,
it was very cool. I like
that's a pretty neat shot for sure. Yeah,
and,
I was paying attention. I said I was paying attention.
Oh, great, thank you. And unfortunately, my wife can't fly my drone, so she doesn't have any footage of me climbing. Right?
Yeah, you're gonna have to do some training. She doesn't know how to, or she didn't want to.
Oh, well, I think a little bit of both. A little bit of both.
That's all right. That's all right. So back to I guess maybe some more about the cordwood cabin itself. What give you that mental idea that you wanted to do something like? I know you said you don't have wood to be able to do it. Like why a cordwood cabin? Why not just a contemporary cabin made out of plywood, 2x4s, and roofing materials,
Well, I mean, I think the idea I got was to keep the cost down. I have kids going into, quite frankly, I have kids going to university, and my wife has been very understanding with the channel, where I've invested in some camera equipment and drones, and unfortunately, that's my second drone. I've lost one.
Yeah, that was on your cycling race.
Yeah, oh, you saw that one. Yeah,
I've seen that one too. Yeah. I'd still be out there looking for it.
That was a painful experience.
Yeah,
that was a tough one. So I really want to keep the cost down, and the biggest thing about the cordwood cabin is that I've reached out to some tree removal companies in where I live, and poplar trees are very common around here. They grow really quickly, they grow big, and they die fast. And they're not necessarily good for firewood. So tree removal companies really don't want anything to do with them. They can't turn them over to a place that splits wood for firewood sort of thing. So I reached out to them and said, hey, I'll come pick some up so you don't have to bother cutting them to pieces, and so whatever I can fit in my pickup truck. So I've been hauling that up to the cabin site, and I'm going to use that. So again, just costing me gas sort of thing to get it up there. And I think people would, if you took a walk in the woods, you realize how many trees have fallen down and been blown down, and all the deadfall is usable if you're doing a cordwood cabin, whereas it's not usable doing a traditional log cabin.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, you know what? It's not easy to do things on, for lack of a different term, on the cheap these days.
No,
you know what I mean? No, seriously, because everything you do these days costs you money, right? And the fact that you're finding resources that are available to you, like the pallet wood for burning or building your furniture and stuff. Take a drive behind the plaza where I have my shop, and there's 75 pallets back there just waiting for a home, right? So if you want to come down from your hometown down to my hometown, I got about 75 pallets. They're not mine, but they're from the plaza, right? So
well, sure, and they're always lying around any sort of commercial, mall or whatever in the back. There's always some of them. And granted, you're right. People have commented that some of are treated, some of them you don't know what's been on them, that sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, I pick them as carefully as I can, but
Yeah, it's amazing the kind of wood you'll find in a pallet. So there you go, people. If you're looking for crafting ideas or you want to build some furniture, take a page out of Scott's book for sure.
Sure.
Got a question here from Tina in the chat. Not sure how this could relate, but
okay.
she wants to know the challenges of tripping with someone who is diabetic.
Very, very stressful. My oldest son is type 1 diabetic. So my son Pierce is 17. He wears an insulin pump on him 24 hours a day. It's attached to him. And the biggest challenges with traveling with Pierce is that in the summertime, if we want to be out on a long trip, like Woodland Caribou, we were gone a week. And a fly-in trip where you're dropped off by a plane and it's hot, you don't know what's going to happen. You got to make sure you have a backup to your backup to your backup plan. So with Pierce, his insulin, he'll go through his pump cartridge. I think he might get 2 days, maybe 3 days out of that. So the secret or the biggest problem is with insulin, it has to be refrigerated. So when you're gone a week, now granted, when we were in Woodland, it was about 20 degrees Celsius the entire time, so it wasn't too hot. But I've taken Pierce where we've gone in August and it's been warm, that sort of thing. So what I did in Woodland Caribou, it was the most stressful time I've ever gone with Pierce, is that we left. He had his insulin with him. I had a frozen thermos that I had some insulin with us in this frozen thermos, triple wrapped in Ziploc bags with a little bit of paper towel around it so that it wouldn't freeze, but yet stayed cold in the thermos. And if for some reason that went bad, I had to have a third backup back with Harlan at Woodland or Red Lake Outfitters. And I had a whole package of emergency insulin and supplies at his camp. So I had a satellite phone with me if something went wrong. Worst case scenario, he would be able to at least fly it out to us and get us the insulin because Pierce needs it to live. So
yeah.
Summertime tripping is the biggest challenge, keeping the insulin cold.
Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a cool idea to be able to not the whole insulin thing, but how you kept it cool or how you plan to keep it cool, right? So
yeah,
you find ways, right? You find ways.
Yes, yeah.
But obviously, everything went quite well, and you didn't need the fly-in services from.
Luckily, everything went well, but there's glucometers to check his blood sugar that you have to have, and I always assume, okay, I'm going to lose one, and I'm going to lose the other one, so I triple everything, and I tuck him into different bags. I gave one to Mike. Okay, you carry this in case for some reason Pierce loses his, I lose my backup. Mike has a third one. That's kind of how I plan to travel with my son, who's diabetic.
Yeah, awesome. Now, when you do travel, even say, for instance, when you're traveling with the boys, do you always have some sort of emergency backup as far as like a spot device or InReach or something like that?
I always have. Before I owned my own, I used to rent from Algonquin Outfitters and rent a spot. Mm-hmm. And I have my own personal locator beacon now, which is it doesn't need, you just buy it. You don't have to subscribe to some service.
Right.
And it works by satellite. You just you open it up, the antenna comes out, and you set it off, and it basically just knows that I need help. It's an SOS basically.
Like a separate ping type of thing.
It's through the government, and you go onto the government website, and you register it with all your information, contact information. So when I go on a trip, I go on the website. This is where I'm going to be. They know if for some reason there's fail safes. If that doesn't work, they call my wife. My wife knows, or whoever, if I'm with my wife, whoever is the other contact, they know where we are, where the route is, and what's the situation is. It's not a false alarm, that sort of thing. So I always tell my wife, if it ever goes off, it's something serious.
Yeah. And you know what? And last year I purchased a spot device, and I just did it just basically for not only for my peace of mind or the wife's peace of mind, but my mom still worries about me when I go on canoe trips and stuff like that, and just to be able to have that safeguard. Now I've heard a lot of people say, I don't like taking any electronics out with me into the wilderness and stuff like that. Well, you know what though? Getting to be like, our age, you're younger than I am. Mm-hmm. You know what? I've heard of people dropping of heart attacks in like 45 years old, right? And when you're out there in the wilderness and you're exerting yourself on a portage, you're trying to attempt a single carry if you're not fit, and even people that are fit, boom, done, right?
Well, I've seen that my entire career. So
Yeah.
100%. It is very dangerous. And I had that conversation with Griffin when Griffey and I in Wabakimi by ourselves, and he knows that if something happens to me, I just for whatever reason have that heart attack or whatever, he knows how to work the PLB, and yeah.
There we go. So Brian J kind of hit it on the head.
Thanks, Brian.
Nail on the head.
Appreciate it.
That's awesome. So moving on here, we've got somebody else who's asking a bit of information on drones. The other guy in a canoe. He's going to be adding a drone to his videos next season. How nerve-wracking is it to not want to lose at 40 feet up in a tree?
You know what?
Speak this one from experience. I
can, unfortunately, yeah. Before I lost my first drone, I was very confident flying it out of sight. I had a Mavic Pro, so I had a DJI Mavic Pro, and I was flying it completely out of sight, just based on the LCD screen, flying it all over the place, getting amazing footage. Didn't think anything of it. Never really had any problems. I sold that one when the DJI Mavic Air came out, and I got DJI Mavic Air, which uses different uses a Wi-Fi connection from the drone to the remote controller, and went up to Superior there for the Crank the Shield mountain bike race with my son Pierce. Got to the top of Batchewana Mountain, and no one told me. Well, it was obvious there, but I wasn't thinking about it. There's this the biggest radio antenna in the area is right on the top of that mountain, and I left the drone out, and it must have interfered with the signal, and it just never came back. And it wasn't even in my thought that I would lose one. And then once I lost it, now I don't fly it out of my sight anymore, because I have another Mavic Air, and I find the signal is not as strong as the Mavic Pro was. So I don't let it go to my sight, and I've still lost it. I was one of my fly fishing videos. A friend of mine was helping us film it, and he was flying the drone, and we thought we lost it again, but we found it. So I don't let it get out of my sight anymore, because it is very stressful. It's an expensive device. Yeah,
that's an expensive toy to lose in the forest, right? And some bear come walking along and go, "Look what I got."
Well, it's one thing to damage it. If you have DJI Care, you can get it replaced within the year. But if you can't find it at all, they don't replace it, so it sucks.
Yeah, for sure. Do the new drone that you're using now, does that fall under the regulations of having to have a license, or is the weight regulation under that cap?
Yeah, it's complicated. It's
we won't go any farther than that.
We'll talk about that.
Okay. I understand why they're doing all that regulating stuff, and
I do.
Makes sense.
It's very important to people flying around airports, people flying around festivals, or people are. Yes, there's a reason for regulations. I get it. Flying it around places that I'm in, that I'm using it around, it's a pet peeve of mine that we're over-regulated sometimes.
Yeah. Well, such is the government, right?
Yes, exactly.
Such is the government. Yeah. So, see, I was telling Scott earlier. I said I usually provide all my guests with an itinerary of questions and things that we get asking and stuff like that. Sure. And usually the list goes by the wayside, because we end up starting a conversation or a topic that takes us in a totally different direction. And that's the beauty part of this live stream is it doesn't have to be scripted. It could be fairly candid, and taking questions from our people in our chat is an awesome opportunity for them to get to know you a little bit better too, right? Sure. Let's see here. So what kind of adventures do you have coming up here for the near future? We got winter season here upon us. I know you're building the cabin, but any winter?
You know what, Dennis? I was looking at some of the things here, and one of them jumped out at me, because it says people enjoying the serenity of the forest, and I must admit that's worth noting, because I was in Algonquin one time where somebody was flying a drone. I think it was the ministry, to be honest with you. And I remember being annoyed by it. Like, here I am in the middle of Algonquin Park and there's a drone flying around, right? So that is, you got to be very careful flying them around and disturbing people's peace and quiet, because that's why we're out there. The beauty with drones is realistically they're up in the air, 5-10 minutes max, right? So it's a minor annoyance if you are unintentionally annoying somebody. It's not going to last long, but I think that's worth noting. It's a good comment where we're out in the wilderness. We don't want to disturb anyone. And quite frankly, I use my drones. I find I use it more for B-roll, flying it around the campsites, and not so much way up high all the time. I do use it for other photographic and for video reasons.
Well, the beauty of a drone shot, it can really make or break your video. Well, I think more make the video if you know what you do with the drone. So
they're beautiful, no doubt about it. But I'm very careful to if anybody's around, I don't use it. That I know if anybody's around.
Well, that's awesome. That's the whole, like you say, the whole respect thing, right?
Oh, 100%. Because I don't like it if somebody's flying a drone around my campsite.
Sure. But you know what? Some of the places that you go to, I could see that in Algonquin Park or, Killarney or someplace like that that's fairly populated with trippers. But when you go to an area where nobody's around and have at it, but the other thing you have to consider is battery life, right?
Well, that's just it. The battery life's pretty short. And when you hear that your battery's low signal, you get stressed, you want to get it back to you. So I usually have a shot in mind when I get my drone out. Something catches my eye or something, and it's up and down fairly quickly.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people that want to get into it, but a lot of people like Dan Mail out here just finished saying, he sold his because is that the wrong one there? He sold his because it was so complicated, both in laws and operation, right?
It is, and they are complicated. Every time I take one out, something's not right. It needs to be calibrated. I mean, if you commit to having a drone, commit to being completely stressed by it. It's just, it's nothing but stress. But it sometimes it's worth it.
Yeah. So Ride Paddle Repeats asking here if with your mountain biking, Crank the Shield, that there is an epic race. I know that from my mountain biking experience. I never did the race, but I'll tell you, I wish I had of. But any plans for a fat bike race this season?
You know what? I have a great group of friends that I ride with, and we keep trying to get together to do another bike packing trip. So I probably won't be doing Crank the Shield again. I've done it twice. If you do a lot of biking, you got a group of friends. Everyone's throwing ideas around. A buddy of mine, Matt, wants to go to Quebec, and he's got one of those sprinter vans and do a Quebec trip. And sometimes I just don't have time to get away. And with all these things I've been doing lately, I haven't been out riding as much. So my actual riding ability is not what it used to be. Yeah. So that's changed a bit too.
Yeah, for sure. Nate Muskoka saying here, Ontario parks have no drone at any time regulations now, unless it's their drones, of course.
Yeah. What's funny about the law with the provincial parks is that it can't land or take off in a provincial park. There's it's some interesting little tricks, or if you want to call them, that I've learned, is that there's abandoned railway tracks through Algonquin, and there's abandoned railway tracks through different parks that are not the park property. So technically, if you launch and land your drone from some of those stretches, even though you're in the middle of the park, technically you're not breaking the law.
Right. Yeah. So as far as doing winter projects, or not winter projects, but adventures now, are any winter camping trips in the horizon, or planning your ice out trip for Algonquin?
Always planning, usually 5 months in advance, plan my Algonquin trout fishing trip with Griffin and my buddy Bill and Wes. So we'll be doing that again, probably 10 days in the park. It's always a highlight of my year, one of them anyways. Winter camping, I'm probably going to get up north and do some ice climbing, hopefully, when the weather cooperates. And I've got some invitations for some other things, and I just don't know if I can find the time to get out and do some of them. That's the biggest challenge right now. And I a little intimidated with all the plans I have for the cabin, so I don't know. I still have to get out and get there and to work on it. So that'll be a slow process. But
you spend too much time playing, you won't be able to build that cabin, right? You'll run out of time. Yeah.
Exactly. I got to try to balance it. I got to try to do some trips because I want to, and the cabin's going to be there. So there's no great rush to do it.
Mm-hmm. So last year on that on your ice out trip there, when you and Griff went up there you said you put in at we were talking about Dennis's Hammock.
Cedar Lake last year. We went in Cedar Lake. Yeah.
Was that kind of planned where you run into the Baird brothers and Sean, or is that coincidental?
No, it was planned. I was talking to Sean, and we were talking about our trips, and we were talking about our routes, and we realized we'd be crossing paths, sort of thing.
Yeah, good bunch of dudes there. And
yeah,
you had the opportunity. We were saying as well that you got to meet Buck.
Yeah,
good old Buck. Yeah,
yeah,
Jeez.
Awesome dog.
That's cool. That's cool. And do you already have your spring trip planned though? Like, are you heading back up the same area type of thing?
Well, we like to mix it up. Try to go in different places. Last year we went to Cedar Lake. We've pretty much done it all, really. So I think we're going to rotate around, and we might go in from Magnetawan.
Mm-hmm.
We might go there and toward Big Trout. We'll see, something like that.
So totally on another topic now. Like
sure.
You and I had the opportunity. We briefly met at the Toronto Outdoor Adventure Show last year. You were there with Griff, and I think it was around the Swift Canoe display that we got chatting there for a bit. Yeah. How's that? Like, you're just a regular guy like I am, like everybody else in the chat is here. How does that make you feel when somebody comes up to you and they get all sort of, as my daughter would call it, fangirling?
Well, you know what? I've been on both ends of that.
Yeah.
So Griffey thought it was funny, and it was really nice meeting you, and getting recognized from YouTube is an odd thing. It's nice because I've been on, like I said, both ends of it. To mention Sean James, I'm sure anybody who's watching this knows who Sean is for My Self-Reliance. But I subscribed to Sean's channel when he had about 500 subscribers. He had done a canoe trip in Algonquin in 2015, which was a route that I had been considering, and sure enough, it pops up on YouTube when I just started watching YouTube. So I watched a few of his videos. I'm like, oh, that's I like what he's doing, and so that next summer, so within a year, he was still very, very small, like less than 1,000 subscribers. My wife, we did a family trip to Killarney. We were canoeing in the summer, driving back home down the 400, and I pulled into a gas station in Vaughan. Pulling into the gas station, pumping up my truck. My wife's in the passenger seat. We're done our trip, so everyone's in kind of zone out mode. And I go to get my truck, and this truck pulls in front of me, and out pops Sean, and I'm like, "Hey!"
I'm not getting it.
So I hop out like a fangirl, and I'm like, "Hey, I watch your stuff," and it was the first time he had been recognized, right? So he was kind of like, he was very nice about it, but he was taken aback that somebody recognized him from his YouTube videos.
Yeah.
So I've been on both ends of that. It's fun. It's neat.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's really neat hooking up with people that actually watch your content. I know a bunch of the people in the chat here we've met at an event there here this past winter, and earlier in the winter, and it's really nice to meet people. And like I say, everybody, we're all the same. We're all just working Joes, and enjoying what we do, type of thing, right?
Yeah.
So,
and I think that's what the appeal of YouTube is. Where if you have a channel where I try to show things that don't go perfectly, like obviously me and Griff, tipping our canoe there in one of my videos, and first time ever doing that. You can leave it out, but it's not me. It just show some mistakes, that make people realize that these things happen, right?
Yeah. That must have been a cold dunk.
Actually, it wasn't too bad at all because it was August. The water wasn't that cold. It was just I was angry at myself. I just miscalculated that. The water, as if you watch the video, it wasn't as maybe dangerous as it looked. The water wasn't deep, like Griffey was standing up almost immediately. But I can tell you if you're thinking about buying a Swift canoe, this is a plug for them. But I have been so rough on their canoes over the years when I rented them, and I was shocked that my canoe held up because it got in a wash basin in that little current, and it was being pushed against. I was holding it by the tow rope, but it was being pushed against this rock and making some nasty sounds. And it's the carbon fusion model, and I was just expecting it to snap like a hockey stick. Mm-hmm. It held up because if it broke to pieces, we were in the middle of nowhere. We were in trouble.
Yeah. Which model do you have? Well, you've got your pack boat and then you've got your tandem, right? Which model do you have?
Yeah, well, Griff and I, they're both the same model. It's the Techstream laminate. Yeah. So it's the carbon fusion carbon package with the Techstream laminate.
Yeah, is it a Key Waden though, or?
Oh wait, I'm sorry, it's a Prospector.
Oh, so Prospector.
The 16 footers a Prospector. Then I have the Adirondack pack boat.
Okay. Yeah. I picked up my Swift canoe last year, and I'll tell you, I also have a Novacraft, so I'm not partial to any particular brand, but my Swift pack boat, I love that thing, man. You could fly in that thing, and it's kind of nice having that freedom getting across a lake all by your lonesome rather than having to rely on somebody else. And
yeah, absolutely. I've been hoping to do more solo trips, but the beauty of all this YouTube thing is that people want to come along, which is great, and it gets people that weren't maybe interested in going to Algonquin or a trip, any sort of trip. Hey, let's go, let's do this, let's do that. And it's great, but I don't get to go by myself anymore.
Right. Now, do you have a preference between like a provincial park or using Crown land?
No, not really. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm always looking to do something different. Mm-hmm. So there's a million Algonquin Park canoe trip videos out there now, right? I simply do it now just because I like doing it. Like, I'm never not going to go trout fishing in the spring at Algonquin as long as I can do it. But doing something different or like different terrain, that sort of thing, I plan on venturing out. I got some ideas to do in the future, but we'll see how it goes.
Mm-hmm. Just want to say really quick, Mark, I see you in the chat there. I'll bring you up in a minute or two once we open up after the prize giveaway. But yeah, back to the Crown land. I prefer myself Crown land. I love my Crown land camping. I like trying to explore routes that are not, the well-traveled paths, which presents its challenges, but it also, at the end of every portage, you have that reward, right? Because you've worked your tail off to get across, or basically blazing an old portage and then getting to the other end and going, wow.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that. I appreciate Algonquin and Killarney and places like that, but I just find that they're so well traveled that, although they're beautiful, the adventure seems to be gone when everybody is there. When you can hear people talking across a lake, it just takes it away for me, right?
Oh yeah, I totally agree with that. I like some isolation and getting away from the crowd. So that's why I pick some spots in Algonquin and try to go into the middle of the park. That's why, you got to take 2 days to get to where you're going to get away from the crowds, right?
Yeah. Sorry, I just typed something here in the chat there that's going to be taken by two different people. I just typed in there, hello, mama. So,
okay.
Karen, that's related towards my mom up above you there. My mom just popped into the stream. So, hi, Mom. How you doing? Good to see you. Always got to say hi to Mom, right?
Ah, there you go. Hello. I'm trying to. This is my first live event that I've ever done, and trying to talk to you and look at the comments and stuff. So.
Yeah, well, that's why if you see me constantly looking away, I'm watching two computers and I'm trying to keep up with the chat. I'm not. I'm still listening. I'm still tuned in, but yeah, that's all good. So we're getting about that time, Scott, right now where I do my swag giveaway, and I've just been working on my studio here, trying to, with the new background and stuff like that, resituated the whole video area, right? And my stickers are on the other counter, so I'm going to pop off screen here for one quick second to get the prize.
Sure thing.
And you can do a quick little song and a dance if you like to entertain everybody.
You know what I'll do if you're talking about stickers? Let me see here. There we go. actually have stuff. I made merchandise, and I've yet to sell anything on it. So if anybody ever buys some of my merchandise, hit me up on Instagram or something, and I'll promote your channel or your Instagram page, or the best I can. I've I remember promoting Alexis Outdoors there. She had 1,000 subscribers. Now she's got like 45,000. So by no means did I help her, but you never know. We get the help when you can.
Yeah, by all means. So yeah, if you got anything that you'd like to plug, like I know you've got an Instagram account, I believe, Facebook.
Yeah, same routine as everybody, I guess. Yeah, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook page. I try. Social media to me is exhausting. I once you're committed to a YouTube channel, it's something that you have to do. And I really enjoy the comments. I really enjoy my comments on my YouTube page and responding to those. I am still, a small enough channel where I think I respond to everybody. Everybody that is nice.
Same here. I try do it while you can, because if you start getting too big, it's hard to get. When you post a video and you have 5,000 views and 1,000 comments in the first half hour, forget it, right?
Well, I mean, I did four or five videos with Joe Robinette, and when I got to know Joe, he was over my house, and we're talking, and there's no way he can respond to everybody who's trying to comment to him. And so what I found was, once we did a couple of videos together, people were messaging me on Instagram, "Hey, I know you know Joe. Can you pass this message on along to him?" Right?
Yeah. And you know what? When you get to have a channel, he's at what, like 1.3 or 1.4 million now.
Yeah, crazy.
That's huge, and you can't possibly keep up with everybody's requests, right? So
you have to just accept that. You mean you'd be nonstop on your phone responding to messages. It just
Okay. I had a question that I was going to ask, but when I reveal, well, you know what, I'm going to do it just the way we talked about, Scott.
Okay.
So tonight I'm going to give away a couple of Canoehound Adventure decal packs. This one here has got 3 stickers on it, and the other one's got, which is the show decal. I got to go opposite way. So it's got the show logo. These here will go great on a bottle. Just check out my Facebook page, and you'll see some of the people have sent me pictures of the swag on there. Tonight's question is, when I introduced Scott tonight, I mentioned how many subscribers he has. And I've mentioned it a couple times throughout the night. So the first person to put on screen, according to YouTube, on his YouTube channel, how many subscribers has Scott got? Hey, I made a rhyme. A Scott got.
That's pretty good.
So let's see if anybody can grab that. Everybody's right now scrambling to your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Mama Bear's backpack, first one up, 22,000.
So you got to figure it out.
Ride, paddle, repeat. You know what? Mama Bear's backpack has got to be the most attentive person, because this is, I think, your second or third win now?
Oh, no kidding. That's awesome.
And you know what? I'm also going to set up ride, paddle, repeat. So what I'm going to get you guys to do, Karen, you know the routine already, but ride, paddle, repeat. Here is my email address. If you could drop me your address, and I will gladly send you out your decal packs probably within the next couple days. And I'm actually going to sweeten the pot a bit. I'm going to throw in a sew-on patch as well, Canoehound Adventures. I've got them sitting here, and I want to use them up. And because I got my first super chat tonight, I feel like giving back. So that's all right. Thanks again to Everything Spicy. That was awesome, and I appreciate that. So right now, what we're going to do, Scott, is I got a guest in the background, and this is Mark from Mark in the Park. You might be familiar with him.
Hey, Mark.
How you doing, Mark?
Hi, Dennis.
Good to see you on.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. It's been a good show tonight so far. Scott's been a fantastic guest.
Yeah, I hear him talking about Algonquin when I was in the background there. My heart quickened a little bit. It's like, yeah, I know it gets busy, but like you said, you got to go in deep, and you still find some sweet spots.
Yeah, absolutely.
And actually, I've been watching all your stuff there, because you and I have been talking about getting you on the show as a guest as well. And the route that you've got on Rogers TV, for those of you that are not familiar with Mark in the Park. Mark Rubino is he's got a show on Rogers Television. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, and it's called Mark in the Park, and it's basically it's an adventure series with him doing a canoe trip with a producer and a cameraman. Is that how?
Yeah.
Maybe you can tell us a bit about it.
We finished shooting season 2 in September.
Yeah.
So there'll be another one coming out. Oh, I don't know. Was it January now? Hopefully by March sometime. But it's in the top end of the park, but it's through another access point and another 10 days of fun. So
there we go.
Nice.
And just a quick introduction here to our next one on the panel. This is Sty from the YouTube channel Sty North. Sty's a regular on the show, and Sty knows a lot of people on YouTube.
Hey, it's great to meet you, Scott and Mark.
Nice to meet you, Sty.
me too. Look at that beard. You're going to give Sean Rowley a run for his money.
There you go. Yeah, really. Right?
Yeah.
I'm
It ain't
not
done growing
I
yet.
know Sean, but
Yeah. Hey, great interview, Dennis. Great interview,
you.
Scott.
Well, you know what? It's made possible by a great guest. You know?
Yes. You really gave the folks a chance to get to know you, Scott. It was
Thank you very much.
excellent.
Thank you very much.
So,
Yeah.
Mark, are you familiar with Scott?
No.
No. Check out his channel. You'll be quite impressed there. He's got some really good trips there in Algonquin, and that's your neck of the woods. So,
Where's the link?
When I found Scott,
it's in the description below for anybody that wants information on Scott and his social media feeds. You can find that in the description below. I've got links to his website, Facebook, Twitter, or what anything I could find. Scott.
I just popped his link in the chat. So
yeah,
anybody interested, his links in the chat.
Oh, thank you.
You're more than welcome.
And by all means, feel free to grab up some of that Drenalin Adventure swag. I might have to get on there and see what's available.
Yeah. I got to get the cup.
Yeah, somebody's got to get one.
Oh,
I've got a cup collection going.
Yeah, I'm starting. You can barely see it back here.
Oh,
yeah. I spent $105 on cups last month. I'll probably spend another 100 this month. But I'm trying to collect channels cups, and I want to build a pyramid of cups back here of all the channels I follow, or I should say, follow me more than I follow them even. But I want to say, you guys get over there, check Scott's channel out. But be ready to burn some midnight oil, because the first time I went over to his channel, my gosh, it was 4:00 in the morning. I said, that's enough. I've watched, because he's got some awesome content. You got to go over there.
Thank you. Really appreciate that. Very nice.
Your cordwood cabin project. I'm excited. That's awesome. I got 1,000 questions for you, but I figure maybe I'll ask them during your videos, instead of beating you up tonight on just that, because I could go all night on it.
It's going to be a slow process, that's for sure. So there'll be lots of videos, and you can make sure you ask questions on it, because sometimes cover the videos.
The one question I'll ask tonight is, how are you getting the mortar in there, and what are you using for mortar?
The cart that I have is what I'm going to haul it out there, and I haven't decided if I'm using just Portland cement or like a lime putty mortar.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was wondering. A buddy of mine years ago built one. It was supposed to be just a cordwood cabin, ended up being a 3-bedroom house.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Well, he had so much fun building the cabin. He just redesigned and added on, and just kept getting bigger.
Nice.
And he's got 2 rooms that he got real creative with. He took beer bottles, wine bottles, all these different different shape, triangular shaped bottles, square bottles, round ones, in between the cordwood in those 2 rooms. And so as you go through, and then he varnished and stained and varnished all the butt ends on the interior. So when you walk in there, man, you feel like you're in the woods. It's awesome.
I love the look of it.
Yeah. The butt ends are the good looking part of the log.
I think so. I really do.
Yeah, me too. The interior of the log is the good part.
Yeah, I believe that too.
Yeah.
So it should be fun. It's going to be a lot of work. I've been hauling out, just hauling the logs out there has been exhausting. So the next video is really just going to cover that off.
A friend of mine up in Boundary Waters, Canoe area, northern Minnesota,
Uh-huh.
their family has owned the same resort since 1906.
Wow.
And his very first cabin he built was a conventional log cabin. Every cabin after that was all built out of local stone. And I look at those cabins and at what it took for them to lay all that stone to make those stone walls. I thought, boy, today he would have killed for the idea of making a cordwood cabin. Because I don't think any of his rocks were under 30 pounds, and they had to lift every one of them rocks up to 8.5 foot walls on those cabins. And are you going to go with log purlins or rafters, or are you going to go with milled lumber?
I'm going to try to get whatever I can. My buddy of mine has like the Alaskan chainsaw mill.
Oh yeah.
He tells me that he can help me out and maybe mill some lumber for me if I can come across the lumber that way.
Sure.
Absolute worst case scenario, I can use milled lumber to do some of the framing, but I'd like to do the whole, premise of this is to do it as cheap as possible and keep the cost.
Some cheap rough cut. Yeah, that'd be a way to go. Yeah,
that's what I plan on.
Okay, I'm going to shut up on that.
No,
like I said, I could go
why
for
we're here, Scott. And
get
Scott,
your show
I was
back
telling
there.
you that somebody was asking about what you're going to use for mortar material, and here is the gentleman that was asking about that. So
no problem.
Yeah. So Mark, now you obviously have a great affection for Algonquin Park. Tell Scott what you do at Algonquin. Get a connection going.
I don't camp for like a year at a time. I'm looking at your YouTube video site now, and I see your solo bushcraft winter camping video.
Yeah,
and I'm kind of excited about that. I actually bought a new tent.
Oh yeah,
camping, and I bought a new stove, and actually the stove arrived today.
Oh, nice.
And kind of itching to open it up and look at it. But I just do a lot of canoe tripping in Algonquin and winter camping as well. Like I try to go there all year round. And there it is there. That's pretty cool.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. It's a beautiful.
Yeah, I got lots of stuff to do now this winter.
I like seeing all those red lines, Dennis. Means you've been watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Awesome.
Oh, you know what? I probably spend way too much time on YouTube.
Oh,
me
too.
Well, we can find out what we want to watch and watch it, right?
Well, that's the whole thing. I was mentioning earlier that I actually got rid of cable TV, right? So
yeah, I haven't had cable TV for like almost 5 years now. Yeah, it's great.
Scott and I were saying that we're missing the Leaf game tonight, right? Anybody know the score of the Leaf game?
Oh, he's got a throw. There you go.
There you go. Way to go, Mark. Mark, are you still doing guiding in Algonquin?
Yes. This will be my third season. I expect I'll probably be with Algonquin Outfitters again this summer. Absolutely love it. Getting paid to paddle.
Okay, that's enough out of you.
Getting paid for what you love to do. Yeah,
it's great. I mean, it's the kids. They're a lot of fun. I meet people from all over the world, and they come out there and they have a great time. It's a lot of fun. It's challenging too at times, but it's what kind of makes the trips more interesting instead of just the same old hat every day. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. That's awesome. You know what? Sometimes I wish I'd have followed some of my true passions when I was a younger fella, right? But
I didn't get into the canoeing stuff until like my mid-30s. So I wish I had done it 20 years earlier than that. I mean, I went out a few times with my father when I was a child, but I don't remember much. And But I wish I'd spent, I had wasted half of a lifetime not being in the bush, and I just wish I had used as much as I wish I had. Whatever.
Yeah, I was watching one of your episodes. I think it was the Alder one, Alder Hell.
Oh yeah,
right. And then you started reminiscing about the cabin 15 years ago versus what it is now, right?
Yeah,
that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really neat how things change. Like your memory of things, your perspective, everything, your experience actually adds a lot to how things are. Even just regular old campsites you go to, you visit a campsite 20 years later, and it changes so much with the vegetation, the abuse it suffers from fellow campers. A fire may go through there, a turtle's building a nest, whatever. There's a lot of changes. Flooding. I've gone to other campsites where they were really nice, and you go back 10 years later, and it's like there's no beach anymore. It's completely gone. So it changes the character of the campsite completely.
Mother Nature has her way with it.
She takes over
with the outdoors, that's for sure.
Yeah, she's like, I've had enough of you.
100 years from now, your cordwood cabin will be fertilizer, right? You'll be pushing out new trees. No, seriously, that's the way it works, man. Yeah. Scott was talking about being up at Woodland Caribou and walking through the burnout area.
Yeah.
I could tell you a story about not that particular area, but when I did a trip up in Mizunabie one time, doing the Lake Mizunabie loop, towards the end of the trip, there was an area that had been burnt out, and we had to try and find a portage because it was all pretty fresh burn, maybe a year or two old. Then we returned back to that same route about 4 years later, and the change in the landscape was amazing. Like how quickly the trees were growing up, like in a matter of 4 or 5 years, what were like little shrubs are now 20-foot tall spruces and stuff like that. Right. So yeah, she takes over. Mother Nature has her way for sure. Yeah.
These fellas don't know, but back in 1984, I packed my whole family up. We moved to northwestern Montana, and I worked for a drilling operation, and I got relocated out there, and all of a sudden I got a bug. I said, I'm young enough. I was in my late 20s, and I had 4 young kids and the spouse, and said, guess what, guys, we're going to move in the backcountry for a year. So sold everything off, and we moved way up in the backcountry. It was 6.5 mile hike down off that mountain to get to the first paved road that existed. And I couldn't believe it. My oldest boy went back out there, and now he hadn't been there since he was 9 years old. That's almost 32. Yeah, that's 33 years ago.
Wow.
And he went back out there, took some photographs of the old place. Well, we had an old logging trail that I had cut and managed to be able to drive a truck up in there. And now it's this beautiful 2-lane gravel road, goes all the way up. And it's this awesome driveway going into the property. It was 80 acres sitting in a little box canyon at about 6,800 feet elevation there. Beautiful. Had big trout ponds. 12 big trout ponds. It's a beautiful location, but all off grid. Well, now you can drive right in there. It's like you're in town, and there's buildings all over the place. They put a youth camp in there, and at first I got excited when I heard youth camp. Then I saw what they built, and I'm going, no. You should have left the old original cottage, the old original 1901 it was built that we stayed in. It was an old cedar cabin. They should have left that there and put canvas tents up for these kids, for crying out loud. They brought the city to the backcountry. Here's this, it looks like a huge community, and they really spoiled the whole atmosphere. And when I saw those pictures, I kept telling my kid, that's not where we live. There's no way. That's not the same place. He goes, oh yeah, look at here. Here's Rock Creek. And I'm going, yeah, I guess so. It was just disheartening to see how that had changed over the years. It was the last piece of private land within the Cabinet Wilderness area. Yeah. And they went and did that to it. And it's right smack in the middle of a wilderness area where nobody went in there unless they're avid outdoorsmen, and beautiful mountain lakes and creeks and this big, huge, modern community sitting on 80 acres it looks like a groomed lawn. I mean, so yeah, when things change like that for us outdoors folks, we just go, no, and we start looking for the backcountry again. And when you guys talk about crown land and that's like me with the National Forest Service here in the U.S. I mean, the bigger the national forest, the better, because that means it's the deeper I can get into it,
For sure.
Farther away from civilization, the better, right?
Yeah. Now, Scott mentioned Quetico, and you didn't get to take your Quetico trip, right?
No, I wanted to do all three, but I just didn't have the time off from work, so we had to cut it short with just Wabakimi and Woodland Caribou.
I'm getting so old now, I don't know if I could do too long of a trip in Quetico, but I'd love to go up and paddle Quetico. I've paddled part of it right on the border. Paddled most of Boundary Waters. I grew up, we were in Boundary Waters every year. That was a given. We were in Boundary Waters. But I'd see Quetico and I'd go, dang it. Those portages are so short. On the Minnesota side, I mean, portages average 10 kilometers. So if you didn't have the right water conditions, you couldn't take the connecting creeks and rivers.
Oh God, yeah.
And so you were stuck portaging most of it. And when you're doing 10 clicks, 5-6 times in a week-long trip, you start thinking, I paddled 20% of this trip. I hiked the other 80%, and then you look on Quetico's side and you're going, look at these lakes. I mean, you can almost spit to the next one. And that's so I would encourage you get the opportunity, paddle Quetico, just jump on it.
I would love to.
Is Quetico like Woodland Caribou, where you have fairly short level portages?
In Quetico?
Yeah, I've been to Woodland Caribou a couple times, but not Quetico.
That Quetico's, you get some hilly, rocky areas. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of the Canadian Shield exposed, so that you get into some rocky areas, steep stuff. There's a couple of spots that we took where you might have a 4-foot trail and a 65-foot drop off of a face of granite right next to you. Because that's the only route you can go is up to get to the next lake. But I would say
Scott can handle that. He's got his climbing gear, right?
Yeah, Scott, he just rock climbed that bugger. Yeah. But I would say that 85% plus is pretty good portaging. It's level enough that it's not going to beat you up, except that you guys come in from the north side of Quetico. You start getting towards the international border. A lot of those portages they're not maintained, so they just don't get the travel that you would think. So a lot of those portages, you're bushwhacking sometimes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not going to be a nice, clean, open trail. It might be level, but you're bushwhacking because everything's growing in.
Those are the kind of
and the skeeters, for some reason, in Quetico, it's not that they're biting you. I used to wear those medical masks, those paper throwaway masks. I used to wear those paper masks because I was choking on skeeters constantly. Every time you took a breath, 30, 40 of them dang things going down your throat.
You put your beard up.
Yeah.
A natural filter.
I didn't have this big old beard in those days, but
Oh, come on. You were born with that thing, Sty.
almost. This is
Hey,
only my
Scott, did you
third
see the
one
question I
mistake.
put up on there? I'm behind in the chat a little bit here.
Yeah.
Tina was asking if you've had any problems with zoning and building code and stuff like that, where you're building your cabin.
No. If there's no issues with where I'm building.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
It's like one of those unorganized townships type of thing.
Yes.
Good stuff. Yeah. That's the way to take it to the man.
Yeah.
Whereabouts are you building, Scott?
It's Central Ontario. I kind of leave it at. Just trying to keep it quiet.
Yep, I get it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna post on Avid Outdoorsy guy if you would like to join in. He's hoping to get into the chat here. And let's see if I can do this here. Carry on conversing, guys. Sorry, this is the part where I'm just going to be poking a few keys here.
Yeah.
Hey, Mark, are you able to type over in the chat?
No.
No.
It says I have to log in. I tried, and then I got disconnected from the video.
Oh,
I can type in the private chat, but not the live comments.
Because I'm trying to find your link to get it up in there so folks can follow you.
His Mark in the Park is kind of hard to find because his channel is done by Rogers Television.
Uh-huh.
And they have all kinds of programming on there, so it's rather difficult. But if you do a YouTube search for Mark in the Park, you'll see a bunch of his episodes will actually pop up on screen. And then take them all and save them to your watch later list, and it makes it the easiest way to find him.
Sure.
It's obscure.
Part of me, yeah.
Obscure. That
I've got room for two more here in the chat if anybody would like to pop in. I know I got Ethan right now popping in from Avid Outdoorsy guy. How you doing, Ethan? Good to see you.
Doing good.
Hey, Ethan.
Hey.
Hey, Ethan.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, buddy.
Trying out this new webcam. This is all new to me on the computer. I don't know. I look really white, like a ghost.
Yeah.
Look at you, yeah, man. Get some sun,
Your
right?
background's really dark, so
I
you're
promise.
just
I'm
popping
definitely
out.
more tan than this. I promise.
There you go.
So for those of you that are not familiar with Avid Outdoorsy guy, you're a Michigan boy, are you not?
Indiana, close.
Indiana, okay. The
Indiana.
other Michigan. And
the other Michigan.
The crappy version of Michigan, yeah, like the armpit of Michigan.
yeah, but Ethan and I are we've become familiar with each other on YouTube here because we both have basically identical canoes from Swift, same color, the whole 9 yards, and we've planned an ice out trip and looking forward to that. We just got to figure out when ice out is going to be. Mark, Scott, any input as to when you think ice out's going to be this year?
Well, I'll be in the park probably on the 12th. So ISO, I'm planning to. So ISO will be on the 13th.
Right.
I always pick the wrong time.
It's a really mild winter here, so I don't know. Is it going to be the same up there? I don't know.
We're due.
I think we're gonna get bombarded in February and March.
Think so?
Yeah.
We are due for an early ice out though. It's been delayed 3 years in a row now. So
something like that.
Well, that was the kicker for me last year because I purchased my Swift canoe at the Toronto Outdoor Adventure Show, right?
Yeah.
And they called me up and said, "Okay, it's all ready to pick up." And I'm thinking to myself, "Okay, this is perfect. I'm going to drive all the way up to Muskoka. I'm going to pick up my canoe, and I'm going to continue on, and I'm going to do like maybe a 2 or 3 day solo just to try the thing out, right?"
Yeah.
Well, it didn't work out that way, and I was getting too anxious, and it's like, oh man, ice out is canceled again, or like they're delaying the opening of the park, and it kept going on like that. Finally, I said, "Hell with it, I'm going to pick up the canoe." I went and picked it up. A week later, opened up. I was right back up there again. So
nice.
Ride, paddle, or Pete, how you doing, bud?
Hey, very good, guys. Nice to see everybody. Thanks, Scott, for coming on.
Thank you.
Popping up. Got any questions for good old Scott here?
No questions. Just appreciate the content and definitely looking forward to more of your biking stuff too. As Dennis said, I really appreciate that your channel has like a variety of really cool outdoor stuff. So that's really neat.
Well, thank you. I think we got off topic we were talking about earlier, Dennis. But the latest bike packing trip that I'm planning to do is somewhere out west. It'll be in BC, maybe next year. Keeps getting postponed. It was supposed to be sooner. Buddy Mike from one of the we did the Colt, the Central Ontario Loop Trail, a bike packing trip. Mike do a British Columbia trip. He's been planning it, so hopefully that'll pop up one of these days.
That's something I should try someday. Like I say, I mountain bike. Actually, last summer I didn't do much mountain biking, but I got to get my ass back in the saddle again and get out there and try it. But yeah, that'd be something that's pretty cool to do. I just got to find some way to do it with me.
Well, yeah, that's just it. But bike packing trips are a lot of fun. Just if you like biking, having your gear with you, and there's some trails that you can really put together in so many different places. The options are endless, really. And one day I'm going to cross the park Algonquin with my bike, so that's on the list.
Wow. You'd love it down here, Scott, in Wisconsin.
Oh, Wisconsin.
Northern Wisconsin, I can't remember how many hundreds of miles it is of fat tire bike trail they got all through national forest.
It'd be nice.
And we have the annual fat tire competitions here in Cable, Wisconsin, and that draws usually a couple thousand bikers. They get out there, and they love fat tire biking around here.
It is so much fun. It is so much fun. Everyone that I bike with has got one now. I actually won my fat bike at just a raffle at one of the races I was at. So yeah, just won it, and then I was out, and all my buddies would see me biking in the snow, and one by one, everybody got one.
Yeah,
we got them riding around town here in Ashland, Wisconsin. I live up in a big apartment building, and I'm halfway up this building, so I can keep an eye on the world out there. And I see fat tires riding back and forth all winter. I mean, we got a community college here, and half them students are riding fat tires in town. And
they're you can get on the trails when they're maybe the trails aren't really good for 29er, that sort of thing, but the fat bikes still give you the traction, right? So and they don't damage the trails.
Right. Yeah. Oh, they love our cross country trails out here. All winter long they're on them. Yeah.
Is that a question, Dennis?
Yeah. Daniel's. You know what? I was thinking the same question there. Regular mountain bike, like a 26er versus a fat.
Oh, I see. Yeah. You know what? I guess it all depends on where you're going. If you can only pick one, I think you're best to go with the fat bike because. My regular mountain bike is a full suspension, so you're kind of limited with the panniers and the bags you can carry. But with a hardtail mountain bike, you can put panniers on the back. You can put them on the front. I don't have forks on mine, so a suspension fork. So I could really load my fat bike up. And then with the Colt trip that I went on, we were in sand, we were on ATV trails, and all of us. Found that the fat bikes were perfect for it.
Yeah. What kind of bikes do you have? I know you've got a fat bike. What's your other one?
Yeah, the fat bike is it's a Fat Boy Specialized is the company that makes it. Yeah, and then my 29er is a Pivot. It's a mock 429 trail if you're into biking, whatever. That's just a full suspension mountain bike. That's all.
Cool. Do you ride the winter with studded tires on the 29er or?
No, I just switched to the fat. I usually just ride my fat bike in the wintertime and my 29er all the rest of the time, really. Yeah. But that's the 29er is my baby. I like that one.
Yeah. Oh, I'm still riding 26s. So.
Oh yeah.
I got an old Norco phase 2 that I've had for a bunch of years and treated me quite well, full squish. So.
Yeah, the phase was like the bike of the year at the time. I remember wanting one of those really bad too.
Yeah. I bought my.
Yeah, well, you're a mountain biker as well, right? Because I remember you and I talking that you mountain bike some of the trails around my area, around Brock University.
Yeah, I used to do XC races around there too, like the 12 Mile Creek area. The local bike shop put on cross country
Oh yeah,
races. So
8x12s.
yeah, it was
8x12s. Yeah, I used to run them as well. Scott, have you ever done any 12-hour or the 8-hour or the
you've done the 24, right, Scott?
24?
Solstice.
Yeah, I do the 24-hour every year. I've been doing that. I put a team together. Well, it's almost 10 years now, I think. And
Yeah.
so I do the 24-hour every year. I've done some 8 hours. I've done Crank the Shield a couple times. That's a stage race in Ontario.
Good old Chico racing, eh?
Chico racing. I did the they had a Fat Bike Festival. I think they've already had it, but we were talking about doing it again. I think they've already missed it. But the weather has just been so off this year. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's been a few years since I've done that. Anyway, I just one day said, you know what? I'm done with competitive racing. Like, we used to do the 8 hours and the 12 hours up in Albion Hills and stuff.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. You know what? It got to be too much.
It's just we don't do it as a competitive team. We do our times and we're competitive within the team, right? But we're not doing 45-minute laps like some of these guys are.
Oh yeah, me neither.
Not a chance.
No, that's I do miss riding as much as I used to. At one time, I used to ride an awful lot, but that's really tapered off quite a bit.
Yeah, it's something you can do, as you get older that doesn't beat you up too much. And on mountain biking, if you're flying off the bike like I am, it takes its toll. But, really biking is a great thing that you can do for older ages, right?
Yeah. You know what, Darren, you actually look familiar. I wonder if we did ride together back in the days of the Thorold Trail Hogs or the...
I was thinking that, Dennis. Yeah, in all honesty, now that you mention it, it's a good possibility for sure. Yeah. There's a good community out there, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, you know what? I miss the trails. I got to get back home. Maybe we'll get you down here and go out for a ride too.
Anytime, just let me know.
For sure.
You too, Scott. Come out biking, man. It's good.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah.
Yeah, we actually do have some killer trails down here in Niagara, all along the escarpment.
It's tough to be a mountain biker in southern Ontario.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's flat. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm in Michigan a lot, but Michigan has a lot of great trails within an hour.
So, Mr. Rubino, tell me, you said you just finished shooting your second series.
Yeah.
What, can you give us any teasers?
Yeah, I guess so. It was 10 days. We came in through Cedar Lake at the top end of the park. And it was shot on the premise of me guiding a single individual through the park, wanting to explore some of the historical aspects of the park. And it was a pretty good trip. We had some weather. I think we fell 2 days behind. And we had to make it up by going from Hogan, if you know the park, we went from Hogan Lake to Radiant Lake in a day. So that's a pretty long stretch.
Whoa.
And we got winded out the day before, and the day before that there was wind and rain. It's pretty interesting. We were leaving Burnt Root Lake. We're going south into Lake Lemure, and we had the wind against us all the way, but we saw a soloist coming onto Burnt Root Lake, and he had the wind at his back. It was just, he just went. How often do you see that? So
I had the wind in my back this last trip to Algonquin, and it was a terrible experience.
Oh, but you keep coming back though, don't you?
Oh yeah, of course. We're gonna keep coming back. I mean, it was like one of those situations where I should have been winded, but I was being stubborn, and I'm in a pack boat, so I mean, like I'm low to the water. I'm not really scared, but I should have been.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've had a few scary paddles.
That's the danger in this thing, right?
Yeah.
It's the decision, like, do you go or do you stay?
Right. And I mean, when you're sitting on a time crunch, like you gotta go. Like you just gotta do it. And
See,
you get to the other end of the lake and you're like shaking you're so freaking scared. But I mean, you made it. Like you didn't die.
You'll do that until you pull somebody out in May.
Oh yeah, right.
My buddy got swamped in May on Lavalier, so
Ooh.
in the middle of the lake. So I was with my son, my 13-year-old son, and our prospector, and we had to flip over his canoe, and we were a ways away from him, unfortunately, and it was windy. So
That's a video I saw on YouTube not too long ago. There was a canoe rescue in Algonquin.
Well, that's a different.
Alexis Outdoors.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a different one.
Rena and Ryan there, they pulled some people out on.
Yeah, this was before I had a channel, and this is before I made YouTube videos. Just out on a trip, our spring trout fishing trip, and he had what happened was one of our buddies backed out. So he's never been in a single solo canoe before. I think he had an Osprey, and lower lines right to the water, and he got swamped from a wave coming from behind him. So he was just sitting in the canoe, where suddenly the water started flowing in from behind him, and just swamped him. And down he went. His hat was still on him when we got to him, and luckily he still had enough energy to pull himself back into his canoe. But we were I wouldn't say the middle of Lavalier, but we were still a long ways from shore. Lost all this. I mean, the stuff floated, but we had to go track all that stuff down. And when we finally we were on Hammock Lake. We were staying that night, which was just still a bit of a paddle.
Yeah.
Yeah, we forgot his. We didn't have his pack with a tent or sleep bag in it.
Ooh.
And
this was in the month of May, you were saying?
And it had snowed the next day.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was probably one of the most extreme trips I've been on. Yeah.
There you go. Look at that. Your numbers are still climbing here, Scott.
Oh,
Yep.
nice.
There you go.
Yep.
Very cool.
Oh yeah,
I'd like to
this is
say
a
we're
good place
responsible for
to
that, but
be a guest.
Well, that's great. You know what? It's always cool hanging out with people, like-minded people, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
You were talking about that rescue, Mark, on I'm trying to think of the name of the lake. It's one up from Rain Lake.
Ralph Bites.
Pardon?
Ralph,
Ralph Bice, Daisy.
Yeah.
Daisy, maybe. Yeah.
No. Before
One
that,
up?
just one up from right down to the end of Rain Lake. And
Jubilee, maybe. Oh no, Sawyer.
Jubilee's on the west side.
Sawyer's on the west side.
Sawyer.
Yeah.
That's where it was on Sawyer Lake.
Oh, Sawyer.
Yeah, right off the campsite that I camped on last year.
There's a lot of wind going across Sawyer most of the time. It's a pretty windy lake. I don't know why.
It's a small lake though,
It is small.
so it kicks up quick. But yeah, that was crazy. That was a crazy video. For any of you that are in the chat that hadn't seen that, check out Alexis Outdoors, and I believe the video is called something like Algonquin Park Lake Rescue or something. And that was a scary moment. The fact that they actually captured all that on film was pretty incredible. But I don't know if that's where my heart would have been, is in recording it. I think I'd have been more focused on rescuing.
Yeah.
that's still.
Let the GoPro run and do its thing, and then don't worry about it. Just rescue the people.
In this film, like you're talking, it is life or death. Like it is really. I don't know, but you guys, I'm sure you've been out there where a couple years back, chunks of ice were floating by us when we were paddling, right?
Yeah. I had that on Smoke Lake when I went for ice out last year. There was still snow in the parking lot, and I'm paddling along. There's like just little thin sheets of ice, so it's still drifting around, right? It's like, don't scratch my new canoe.
I think the spring trips are the most dangerous because we wait all winter long to get to it. And when we finally get there, our first lake, the wind's 50 kilometers an hour. You're like, it'll be fine. I've been waiting all year to do this, right? So that's the part where after time you're like, well, it sucks, but we got to wait it out.
Yeah, super overconfident. Yeah, just been cooped up all winter and want to get out there. Yeah,
Exactly.
So Ethan, for our ice out trip there, Mark would be the guy to talk to there for planning our ice out trip, because do you always outfit out of that particular Algonquin Outfitters, Mark?
Yeah, that's the only one where they do guided outfitting, is the one in Knoxtongue Lake.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's a great location.
Yeah.
Is your FaceTime
I'm trying to find a photo. I got a photo here of I was on Tom Thompson in May one year, might have been the end of April, I don't know. And there was icebergs on Tom Thompson Lake, and we actually paddled up to one.
Oh, okay.
And my friend Scott got out and he stood on it.
Really?
Yeah, I'm trying to find it here.
Yeah. Oh, other guy in a canoe just he put the name up there of the video on Alexis Outdoors. If you check that video out there, you'll see the rescue. Actually, their whole series on that trip was pretty cool. So
yeah,
I'll check that out.
it's definitely worth a watch. There you go. Just added something else to your watch later list, fellas.
Yeah.
Scott, does your ice out trip pretty much the same every year? Do you stay the same route, or do you switch it up?
I switch it up. Try to rotate it around. We went in through Cedar Lake last year, and this year we'll be going through Magnetawan. Try to just, I don't want to get bored. We started doing Dixon Lavallée a couple years in a row, and it wasn't getting stale, but with the algae bloom they had there, it kind of forced us to mix it up a little bit, and then we just got in the habit of changing it up.
Right. Yeah, I think we're looking at Canoe Lake too for our ice out trip. So I think it's a good choice. It's pretty remote. It's not. It's central the park. I think it'll be a good choice, and it's not very far from rivers, so we'll be able to fish some nice rapids along the Petawawa and stuff. I am a little concerned about paddling up a section of river. Might be kind of iffy depending on river flow and stuff.
There are places where you got to really be careful of that, where it doesn't show it. Like from Cedar Lake, we went up to Petawawa last year, and it was fine. But two paddlers, and my son Griffey was in the front for me. But we were able to do it. But there's been sections of the Crow River east of east of Lavallée where we went up one time and we were barely lucky to get, we went down it and we were lucky to get back up it. It was surprisingly hard. So if people aren't familiar with it, you got to be really careful.
I'm a little concerned. I never done an ice out trip, so it's a new experience for me.
Yeah. Mark, were you trying to show a picture there, or?
Yeah, I got the share screen thing.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
You see that?
Wow,
Yeah.
that's pretty big.
Yeah.
It's that was on May 2nd, 2013 on Tom Thompson Lake.
Wow, so that just fell off the side of a cliff or something.
Oh yeah. Anyways, I just thought I'd show that to you.
Neat.
And you chipped a couple pieces of that for your drinks, right?
Oh yeah.
That's cool.
Cool.
Get rid of that. Remove.
Man, all this talk about canoe trips is killing me, guys.
I know. I said it last week. Every time I walk out in the garage, I walk up to Miss Molly and I give her a little caress.
Oh, that reminds me. I gotta get a hold of Swift again and see about getting my boat fixed still.
You got your seat issue.
I don't have any canoes anymore, but I got a flat top kayak and
Styac.
the Styac, and I had fun with it last season, but our season here was nasty, storms and downpours constantly. So I got a few days out on it, and I'm just itching for spring. I'm just screaming for spring. The other day I was over, I got this, I call it the adventure trailer, and I've converted a utility trailer into my base camp, and I pull that all over the place, and the kayak fits right inside that trailer. And so I was over there to get some bushcrafting gear out of that trailer. I'm looking at my yak sitting there in its cradle on the floor. I sat in that thing for over an hour. I sat there drinking a beer and having a smoke, sitting in my kayak. I even put the damn paddle together. But the paddle's longer than my trailer is wide, so I couldn't really mimic, but I was enjoying it. But
Bye, Mom. See you later.
Sure wanted it to melt. I want to see ice out.
Honestly, here in Northeast Indiana, I could go out and paddle right now. We have absolutely no ice at all.
Really?
Yeah, we have nothing. No
We
snow.
got nothing here either.
Anything.
It was pretty
Oh
mild.
man, we got cars and trucks out on the bay here in northern Wisconsin, out on Lake Superior.
Yeah,
Oh, Kevin. Oh yeah.
Hey, Kevin.
I
Hey.
have to ask my producer. I'm hoping it's beginning of March, but I don't know.
So I'm kind of new to your channel, Mark. I don't really know. This is actually the first time I've ever heard of your channel tonight. So like, what you give guides? That's what you do in Algonquin?
Yeah, I work with Algonquin Outfitters and also work for myself as well. But I don't really have much of a YouTube channel to begin with. But there is a series. I've got a full season I shot 2 years ago in Algonquin Park. It's called Mark in a Park. It's on Rogers. But if you go to my actual website, markinapark.com, and you go to the blog page, there are links to all the episodes from the first season if you want to check those out.
I'm going to bookmark there right now.
I didn't know that. That would have made it so much easier for me to find all your stuff.
Oh, well. Anyways, I was just going to say I got to go, and then I saw Kevin popping up asking that question. But I got to hit the hay soon. I get up at pretty early. My winter job, I got to be there at 3:30 in the morning. So
3:30. Did you say 3:30, Mark?
Yeah, 3:30.
Okay, well, yeah, that is an early morning.
Yeah.
Well, Mark, I'll be in touch with you there, and we'll get you set up on a date there so that we can tell a lot more people about your show.
Yeah, it was nice meeting you guys.
Yes.
Yeah, it was fun,
Awesome,
fun chatting for sure.
Nice meeting you, Mark.
Yeah, you guys hang in there. A few more months to go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Probably see you before then.
Okay, take care. We're holding on. Thanks for coming in, Mark. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
See you, Mark.
And then there were 4.
There we go.
That's
You know,
Comment. Vince, he says he has his boat in at Swift and they are busy right now. So maybe I should call them tomorrow.
yeah, you might want to book that. You're going to have to either hook up with them at a show or you're going to have to drive it all the way down from Indiana.
Yeah.
Wow.
I do not want to drive all the way up there, so I'm gonna have to hook up with them somewhere.
What do you have to get fixed with it?
Okay, so on the pack boats, there's so the cushion on the bottom part where you sit on.
Yeah.
There's these like 2 straps on the back of it that hook into these bolts, like little 1/4-inch bolts that hold the pad from moving.
Yeah.
And if you look at it, they'll either go they'll come up from the bottom and then they have holes in the straps so the bolts go through, or the way mine came from the factory, the straps came down from the top and they went through the holes in the straps. Well, since I'm sitting on the seat all the time, it's pulling tension down on those straps and it ripped the rivet right out of the carbon fiber.
Oh,
The pressure. So they're going to have to go in and, I don't know, re-rivet that or whatever. It's like a rivet that the bolt screws into.
so when do you think they're going to fix that?
I'm hoping I talked to Scott like a couple months ago, and I forgot to get back with him again. So I don't know. I'm hoping maybe I could just drop it off with them at Canoecopia or something.
Let me just share my experience with dropping a canoe off to get fixed. On the trip that I just went on trout fishing in the spring, I brought my pack boat up because one of the braces broke off. So I thought I would just have them, fix it properly. So when I went up to Algonquin in May, I dropped my pack boat off at the Swift shop in South River.
Mm-hmm.
So they knew well in advance that they were just, all it needed to be was really re-glued.
Right.
And we were going to be gone 10 days, so they were going to fix it while I was gone, and then we were going to pass by the South River factory, and I would pick it up and I would drive back home to Southern Ontario. And when we got to after our 10-day trip, I showed up and they hadn't done anything with it. Hadn't touched it. No one even knew about it.
No.
I just drove this thing up 7 hours, and it was all Scott's great. They let me take a rental, a demo home with me. But the point of the matter was, like, it couldn't have been any more organized. Like, this is what was going to happen, and it didn't even come close to getting done.
It sounds like I'm gonna have to get a hold of them again. And
Just warning you. I'm just warning.
yeah, they're like, I need my boat fixed. I have to have it for that ISO trip.
Yeah, you better have it ready for the ice out trip, or I'm bringing some Gorilla Tape for you.
Right? I mean, it works. I can sit in it and just like I lean. It leans really hard to one side. And it's really uncomfortable when you're sitting there all day like this.
Yeah, you don't want to.
Do you, Scott? Do you and your pack boat? Do you have the adjustable, like the kayak seat, or do you have the 2-level seat?
The kayak seat.
The kayak seat, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to find somebody that's actually got the 2-level seat. I'm almost wondering if I should have gone with that so I could use a single blade, right?
Sean has the 2-level seat. Sean Jones, in his Prospector. There's 14-foot Prospector. Yeah. I like kneeling down, but I can't get my feet underneath those low seats. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's my biggest thing. Where on my my Prospector, my 16-footer, I kneel down all the time with it. But the solo canoes, I can't get my boots underneath there. I just or even I don't know. I just can't get comfortable with them. So the biggest thing.
Have you ever tried a single blade in your kayak or in your pack boat?
A single blade? Yeah, I started out with a small wooden paddle I keep with me because I didn't want to bang up my my carbon fiber kayak paddle.
Yeah, the $400 paddle.
Once I scratched that thing to crap, I was like, I don't need the wooden one anymore. I've worn it in. Let's put it that way. So I just bring the one paddle.
Yeah, and how, Ethan? Have you ever tried a single paddle in your canoe?
No, and I don't think I ever will. I am too much of a fan of the double blade. It's so fast. It's so easy to paddle.
I even use it in my 16-foot canoe. I use my double blade 75% of the time, to be honest with you.
It's so much.
Don't say that too loud because Kevin Callan's in the crowd here, and he does not like double blade.
I'm not going to get into Kevin with this again. He hates on me every time I say bladed paddles. I'm not Canadian, okay? I'm sorry, Kevin. I'm not doing it.
I was just going to say, you're going to get him up on this paddle, and we're going to get an earful.
I know. I'm poking the beat.
If Kevin's there, I've never talked to Kevin. Is he around?
Kevin's in the chat. KC Happy Campers, Kevin.
Okay, yeah.
And if Kevin wants to pop in, I've already sent him a link. He wants to pop in for a few minutes. We only got about 10 minutes left to go on the show anyways, but Kevin's always a welcome entity in this show. He brings life to the show for sure. So
he does.
Yeah. Everybody loves Kevin. Eh?
Yeah.
Ah!
Yeah, Nate. This debate never ends. That's true.
Do you follow Kevin, Scott?
Yeah. Well, when I first started watching YouTube, I mean, Kevin's videos were some of the first ones that popped up when you researched canoe tripping, and that's what back in 2014, 15. There wasn't a lot of people doing it, or I think Kevin's videos popped up quite a bit when you researched them. And actually, Kevin's video.
Yeah. I told you he hates on me every time.
I made trips on Kevin's. Kevin had gone a bit on the Crow River trout fishing, and he got me kind of researching that aspect for one of the trips. And I remember that. It was one of the first videos I was watching on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there again, I've been following Kevin. I've had his books for years and stuff, and
I
was like we were talking about earlier about fangirling, and when I was at the show last year, I met Kevin there because he was there at Canadian Gear Outfitters, or his buddy's display there, and he's like, "Holy crap! Hey, there's Kevin Callan." And my daughter's there. Dad, you're fangirling.
Nice.
I'm not.
Nice.
Yeah. Geez, I had a question there, and it totally slipped my mind because my dog has come by for a visit.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Oh man, never mind. I take it all back.
Oh hey, Canoecopia? Anyone in the chat? Canoecopia?
I am hoping, and you and I need to talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just got my tickets. I'm ready to go.
Oh really?
Canoecopia? Huh?
Yeah, I'm hoping. That was that. Thanks. You just reminded me of my question. I was going to ask Scott. You going to the Outdoor Adventure Show this year?
I don't know, to be honest with you. Last year it worked out well, and actually I got some trips from that. Actually, the our whitewater rafting trip that we did as a family came from being there and running into some people. So I don't know, Kevin or Dennis. I might get there. I might not. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna go there. Actually, they got a lot of great presentations going on this year. Going to see obviously Kevin's presentations and Christina and Hap Wilson's going to be presenting there again this year.
Right.
So they're, I believe Hap is.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, but yeah, there's another Canadian hero of mine for the canoe thing. I don't know if you ever follow Hap Wilson or if you've ever done any of his canoe routes from his books, Scott.
I think I've heard it, but I'm not familiar with it. No.
Yeah, he's one of his books, which is Canoe Routes of Temagami.
Oh yeah,
is basically one of my Bibles, and I've probably done, out of the 30 some odd routes in there, I've probably done good 25 of them over the years.
Oh no kidding.
The ones I haven't done are the ones that are like, the 14 to 21 day trips.
Oh right.
And it's just, because they're the hard ones to organize and take the time. But yeah, I definitely. I'm a fan of his documentation. There again, last year at the show, I met him and his wife and his daughter.
Yeah.
And there I was truly, I'll admit that one there, I was truly fangirling because I've always wanted to meet Hap. And I've actually got a tattoo of his artwork.
Cool.
It's the only tattoo I've got. And that's how passionate I was about I am about the Temagami area.
Really?
And to show him, and I go, yeah, man, look, I got a tattoo of your artwork. He goes, that's my artwork, but I didn't do that tattoo. So
nice.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like to do one of those 21-day trips there one day. So I ran into a couple of guys in Wabakimi who had done some 21-day trips and just disappeared and have almost do a figure eight. So you're actually dropping a cache of food and yeah.
That's on my list. I'm going to make that happen at some point too. I've always dreamed of that, especially Wabakimi. That'd be awesome. That's a beautiful.
Wabakimi really gets overlooked. I mean, Red Lake Woodland Caribou is certainly awesome, and it's got a lot more publicity, I think, when more people have done it. But I've done both, and I'd go back to Wabakimi before I did Woodland.
It seems, since I've done Woodland Caribou, and from what I've seen through video and stuff of Wabakimi, it looks like it's more wild, which is hard to believe because you get flown into Woodland Caribou, but it just, like, I don't know, from the parts of the park that I was in Woodland Caribou, there's a lot of stashed boats and cabins, and it's really frustrating, and I wanted to see just like nothing.
Yeah.
So I think Wabakimi is definitely something I need to do.
That was my experience too, to be honest with you. We ran into people at Woodland Caribou.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Like, I was surprised at how many people we ran into.
Me too. I ran into people on day 2, day 4, day 5. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, how am I running into people? I thought there was
be all the rage now, right? As soon as the can of worms was opened up, all of a sudden everybody wants to do it now, right?
What I found, like, it was we were showing up and campsites were taken. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, and Wabakimi, didn't see a person the whole time I was there.
Yeah, that's what I want. Yeah.
Scott, interesting fact about Ethan's trip to Woodland Caribou. You go ahead. You tell them what you've seen.
Sure.
Last day while you were waiting for the plane to pick you up.
What? Oh, that. Okay.
Tell them the story.
I thought you were talking about something else. Okay, so I'm
talking about the fact that you couldn't catch any fish.
Okay, yeah, we're not going to talk about that.
All right.
So I don't remember if it was the night before I got picked up or I was waiting on the plane. I heard some like rustling in the trees behind me. I was standing on the dock actually where the plane was going to come in.
Oh.
And it was like maybe 20 yards behind me. I heard a bunch of rustling. I'm on an island. I'm like, oh crap, what is that? So I turn around and I look like through the trees and I see something brown and I just started yelling, hey, like really loud. I grabbed my bear spray. I'm freaking out. And all of a sudden I get a better look and it was a male caribou. Like, extremely rare. I saw a male caribou and I got it on video and everything. If you go to my video and see it, you can see it
Okay.
Yeah.
going across the water. Yeah, it was really cool.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. When I travel with my kids, they don't stop talking, so we don't get a chance to run into too much rain, right?
Yeah. When I'm by myself, I blab to the camera a lot, so I probably steer away plenty.
That's great.
But you got to see something that probably 99% of the people don't get to see there. You know, it's not like seeing a moose. You're
That's
actually
true.
seeing one of the woodland caribou, right?
That is awesome. Yeah.
Let's see here. The Bushcraft Daughter. This is Millie. She was a guest on the show there a little while back. This is the young lady I was telling you about, Scott, that is in the bushcrafting from New Zealand.
Right.
What's the max weight you carry while tramping, which is hiking? Canoehound Adventures. Usually when I'm on a canoe trip, I try to limit my pack to being somewhere, around the 50 to 60 pound mark. Sometimes it's not quite as easy as doing that when you start toting camera gear and stuff like that around. And then it depends on the trip too. If you're going solo or if you're going with a group of guys. If you go with a group of guys, you've actually got the opportunity to carry a separate kitchen bag, so you can carry a little more gear in there, the food barrels and things like that. So I don't know. But I'm getting old, and I like to try and lighten my pack up. So I'm starting to go like this now. I don't really need that. So, what about you guys? You have a specific goal or weight you try to shoot for?
I like to keep. It depends on what kind of trip I'm doing. I like to stay with the portage pack. I like to keep it all in one pack if I can. But if I have to separate it in a pack and a day pack, that's okay. I like to keep it around like 35 pounds max for the day for the portage pack itself. And if I could just go with that, and that's the only thing I have, then that's great. That's a perfect. I could single carry everything with my pack boat. That's awesome. So 35 pounds, I think, is like really what you want to shoot for. And I mean, that it varies because, I mean, length of trip, your food is going to weigh more and stuff like that. But it depends. Based
on that, I really got to start cutting gear down.
I'm with you, Dennis. I'm more around 60 pounds. And for a 10-day trip, it's heavy and to start out with. And Griff's pack is more like 30 pounds, 25, 30 pounds.
Yeah.
We double carry, though, on the spring trip.
Yeah.
The spring trips, like I said, it depends on the trip. It's different. Like, I think for our ice out trip, I'm going to have some heavier gear. It's going to be thicker sleeping bags, stuff like that. So it's going to weigh more. It just depends on what you're doing. Like if I'm with Joe, then I'm going to have to pack a little lighter because he wants to go. So that's how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
And with camera gear, that adds to it, no doubt.
Yep. Yeah, it does.
And you know what? We're getting ready to wind down here. We got it's 10 after 9. We're about 10 minutes over time right now. Right. But we'll throw in the last question here from the other guy in the canoe. He's asking the panel what our favorite piece of gear and most expensive and least expensive, excluding our boats, because we know that would always be the most expensive, right? Who wants to start?
My favorite piece of gear, expensive-wise, is you know what? Probably that yellow pack behind me, and that is my camera bag that I found is waterproof. And I actually confirmed that it's waterproof in Wabakimi when it went over. And all my drone, my DSLR, all my camera gear in there is completely waterproof. It's got one of those waterproof zippers. It's the only backpack I could find that's a camera bag that's completely waterproof. And that thing floated for a good 10, 15 minutes. So that was worth the money. It was expensive, but it was worth it.
What's the make of that one? Because I need to get one.
I can't recommend it enough. It is it's a GoPro or a Low Pro. I don't know if you can see it, but it's a Low Pro. If had to order it from Henry's, but I kind of came across it. That's it there. Can you see it?
Yeah.
But it's got a ton of storage, and it has this membrane right here that I don't know. I had it out conveniently. Maybe I just looked at it and I said, well, I'll use that as an example. But it's really the only one that I could find that's completely waterproof.
I'll be hitting you up for the information on that one.
Yeah,
I
it's,
gotta protect my new camera gear, right?
well, I don't know about you guys, but when I started carrying camera gear, I was like, okay, I put in a Pelican case in my backpack, or I could never really get a good system going with carrying all my stuff. And I came across that one that's its own backpack, but yet it has pockets where you can throw stuff in and have it accessible right away. And when I get to the portage, I just carry it. I carry that with the canoe, and then I come back and I get my heavy pack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one works really well.
How about you, Ethan? Favorite piece of gear?
My favorite piece of expensive gear would have to be my tent. It's Big Agnes Fly Creek UL1 Mountain Glow, and I love that thing. It's an amazing tent. It's so lightweight. It packs down like super small, and I keep the poles separate, so it's all like super tiny. Weighs nothing in my pack. That's by far my favorite piece of expensive gear. It is expensive. I think new it's like $350.
American.
Yeah, I shopped for a long time. I was able to find it on sale for $250.
That's
so
good.
I found a good deal. And then my favorite, least like inexpensive. I don't know what you really call inexpensive. I don't know. Maybe like my Snow Peak Spork. I don't know. It feeds me. I don't know.
How about you, Sty?
Well, it used to be my tent. I don't tent camp much anymore. This old boy don't like laying on the ground. And I don't have a high-end hammock, but that's something to sleep in is always a favorite. So my hammock, would be a favorite piece of gear. Most expensive piece of gear, camera gear, of course, probably the highest end, most expensive piece of gear, but actual usable gear in the field is my SE5. That's $185 for a knife, and least expensive. I used to manage a Dollar Tree, believe it or not. I managed a Dollar Tree for 2.5 years before I retired. There's actually 2 Dollar Tree items. I got a ton of them. They had these seal bags. They're awesome. They're about a liter, and they're watertight. They're awesome. They're just little dry bags. They're awesome. Mm-hmm. And I've always got a half a dozen of them in the pack because they're maybe 1/10 of an ounce each. And they had these awesome little water bladders, these little collapsible water bladders. They're $1 a piece. So I always got 4 or 5 of those in my pack because 5 of them don't even come to an ounce. So I can haul a lot of water, and
sure.
Dry
you
bags
a lot of
to
water in those collapsible bladders.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be carrying water with me.
No, I carry the flattened out flask. I guarantee you. I only fill those bladders when I'm in camp for a while.
Yeah. Gosh. I'll pipe in mine, and then we'll call tonight a quit, or call tonight a success. Anyways, probably my favorite piece of gear to carry, and might not be my most expensive piece of gear, but my Hennessy hammock. Back to the hammock camping there, Scott. Very comfortable, probably the best sleep I've ever had camping. I pulled out my 4-season tent in preparation of going winter camping, and I slept on the basement floor here in my tent. You got
I saw the picture,
before, right? And it made me realize why I switched to a hammock. So my hammock is probably my most favorite piece of gear. I would probably not leave home without it unless I did a trip where I knew I couldn't use it. And then for a cheap piece of gear, and I wouldn't even say it's cheap because, how do you define cheap? But I'll say another piece of my favorite gear is I'm really taking a liking to twig stoves. That kid twig stove that I push so much. And it's not because I know the guys, but because I absolutely love it, man. It cuts down your weight of carrying fuel on a trip now, right? You're not carrying as much fuel, and even fuel that you might not use at the end of the trip, because I've come back and had a bottle and a half left from my MSR stove. And that's all weight you've taken on a trip with you, right?
Yeah.
This here, man, you load her up with sticks and you go to town. And I practice with it at my day camp, so I know how to use it proper in the field. So I love my twig stove, whether it's a kid twig stove or a firebox stove or, you know, whatever makes, because I know there's a million of them out there. But I just like using resource fuel that's all around you when you're out there. So that's my thing.
All right.
Yeah. Anyways, guys and gals, I just we need to draw tonight to a close because I just got the text from the wife. It's almost pizza and chicken wing time. If you guys
got a
on the
frozen
panel
pizza to make.
wouldn't mind sticking around in the green room when the show is over, I'd just like to talk to you before we sign right off. And just got a couple of announcements that I'd like to get across. Like to thank everyone for popping onto the stream. Scott, you're an awesome, incredible guest tonight. Thanks for answering all these questions and allowing us to get into learning a little bit more about you.
Thanks, Dennis. Yeah, it's been nice joining you.
Yeah. Look forward to seeing some more of your adventures, and I am super excited to see how this cabin works out for you. Hopefully, you know, you could build a guest room on there. You never know. Give Canoehound a guest or a call and say, "Come on up and use the guest room."
Company for sure.
For sure, that's awesome. Let's see here. For all of you in the chat, please do check out Drenalin Adventures on YouTube. Also, check out his website, and you can get more information there as well. All the information is down below in the description, so you can check that out. And just wanted to thank everybody for taking the time to come out. If you haven't already done so for Canoehound Adventures, please do hit that subscribe button. It's not too late to hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed this live stream tonight. We are live every Tuesday night from 7 o'clock till approximately 9 o'clock. Sometimes a little later, sometimes a lot later, never earlier. And we've always got fun guests. If you know somebody that you'd like to see on the show and or a topic you'd like to see us discuss, and it doesn't have to be just residential to our area of Ontario. I'd like to broaden my horizons to expand, you know, foreign and into the U.S. and Canada. There are a lot of great YouTube channels out there and people that I would like to meet online here and to get all of you to know a little bit more about. So let me know. Drop me an email at canoehound@gmail.com. Next week's guests are Friends of Temagami's president, PJ Gustafson, and Tierney Angus, who is the vice president. And we're going to be talking a little bit about all the issues that are going on up around Temagami with the Solus Wildlands and Wolf Lake areas. Some rather concerning things going on there. It's going to be a slightly political show, but I'm sure there's going to be a lot of fun involved as well. So that's that for that. And until next time, thanks again for joining us. I'm Dennis from Canoehound Adventures. And remember, people, keep the adventures alive. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.